Today's gospel is from Matthew chapter 16, verses 21 through 28. From that time on, Jesus began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and undergo great suffering at the hands of elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed, and on the third day be raised. And Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him, saying, "God forbid it, Lord. This must never happen to you." But he turned and said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me, for you are setting your mind not on divine things, but on human things." Then Jesus told his disciples, "If any want to become my followers, let them deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For those who want to save their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake will find it. For what will it profit them if they gain the whole world but forfeit their life? Or what will they give in return for their life? For the Son of Man is to come with his angels in the glory of his Father, and then he will repay everyone for what has been done. Truly, I tell you, there are some standing here who will not taste death before they see the Son of Man come in his kingdom." The word of the Lord. My Aunt Kitty, she used to always say, if you place your cross in a pile of other crosses, you will not want any other person's cross, and no one's going to want your cross, because we all have heavy burdens, and we all carry our crosses. Many people interpret cross as a burden that they must carry in their lives. A strained relationship, a loss of a job, a physical illness, worry about finances. With self-pitying pride, they say, "That's my cross I have to carry." Such an interpretation is not what Jesus meant when he said, "Take up your cross and follow me." When Jesus carried his cross to be crucified, no one was thinking of the cross as a symbolic of a burden to carry. To a person in the first century, the cross meant one thing and one thing only: death by the most painful and humiliating means human beings could develop. 2,000 years later, Christians view the cross as a cherished symbol of atonement, forgiveness, grace, and love. But in Jesus' day, the cross represented nothing but a torturous death, because the Romans forced convicted criminals to carry their own crosses to the place of crucifixion. Bearing a cross meant carrying their own execution device while facing ridicule along the way to death. Therefore, take up your cross and follow me means being willing to die in order to follow Jesus. This is called dying to self. It's a call to absolute surrender. After each time Jesus commanded the cross bearing, he said, "For those who want to save their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake will save it. What does it profit them if they gain the whole world, but lose and forfeit themselves?" That's from Luke chapter 9. Although the call is tough, the reward is matchless. Wherever Jesus went, he drew crowds. Although these multitudes often followed him as Messiah, their view of who the Messiah really was and what he would do was distorted. They thought that Christ would usher in a restored kingdom. They believed he would free them from the oppressive rule of the Roman occupiers. Even Christ's own inner circle of disciples thought the kingdom was coming soon. When Jesus began teaching that he was going to die at the hands of the Jewish leaders, his popularity sank. Many of the shocked followers rejected him. When Peter criticized Jesus for predicting his death, in reply, Jesus said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan." That seems very harsh. But Jesus wasn't saying that Peter was Satan. In the Old Testament, the term Satan was often used to mean adversary. In hearing this, Peter most likely understood that he was being an obstacle for Jesus because he was not thinking like God. He was thinking like man and trying to avoid pain and suffering at all costs. Peter was simply being human. Following Jesus is easy when life runs smoothly. Our true commitment to him is revealed during these trials. Jesus assured us that trials will come to his followers in John 16. Discipleship demands sacrifice, and Jesus never hid that cost. The demands of discipleship are great, and there are many stumbling stones that can be obstacles and cause us to trip and fall. Still, we are called to have faith. We are called to set aside our own needs and desires and put the needs of others ahead of our own. In Luke 9, 3 people seemed willing to follow Jesus. When Jesus questioned them further, their commitment was half-hearted at its best. They failed to count the cost of following him. None was willing to take up his cross and crucify upon it his own interests. Truly, they were not able to put to death their own ideas, plans, and desires, exchange them for his. Therefore, Jesus appeared to dissuade them. How many people would respond to a call that went, "Come follow Jesus. You may face the loss of friends, family, reputation, career, and possibly even your own life." The number of false converts would likely decrease. Such a call is what Jesus meant when he said, "Take up your cross and follow me." Commitment to Christ means that taking up your cross daily, giving up your hopes and dreams, possessions, even your very life, if needed, for the cause of Christ. Whoever does not carry the cross and follow me cannot be my disciple, he said in Luke 14. The reward is worth the price. Jesus followed his call of death to self. Take up your cross and follow me, with the gift of life in Christ. For those who want to save their life will lose it, and those who will lose their life for my sake will find it. Matthew 16, verse 25. I don't think we grasp the seriousness of this calling. Some of us aren't even willing to stop gossiping in order to follow Jesus. I know I'm at fault of that. I gossip with my mother almost on a daily basis. Some of us aren't willing to sacrifice finances or time to follow Jesus. Some of us aren't willing to give up alcoholism, addiction, or our own pride to follow Jesus. Some of us are willing to stop hating of a different people of a different political party or other race or immigrants or a family member in order to follow Jesus. If you wonder if you're ready to take up your cross, consider these questions. Are you willing to follow Jesus if it means losing some of your closest friends? Are you willing to follow Jesus if it means alienation from your family? Are you willing to follow Jesus if it means the loss of your reputation? Are you willing to follow Jesus if it means losing your job? Are you willing to follow Jesus if it means losing your life? In some places of the world, These consequences are reality. But notice the questions are phrased. Are you willing? Following Jesus doesn't necessarily mean that all these things will happen to you, but are you willing to take up the cross? If there comes a point in your life where you are faced with a choice, Jesus or the comforts of life, which will you choose? Jesus is talking about real sacrifice. This week, demonstrate that you have been changed. Deny yourself and live for Jesus. I understand to deny ourselves is difficult. We think about ourselves and desires very frequently. It's a hard thing to deny ourselves and live our lives for Jesus and others rather than ourselves. However, that is our calling. Show you have changed life. Show your changed life this week in some way. Decide this week that you will conquer the besetting sin. Lose that and find Jesus. Make a commitment this week to give up that addiction. Kill the addiction so you can live for Jesus. Deny yourself this week and sacrifice on behalf of Jesus. Give up your own preference in order to love others as Jesus did. Let the light of Jesus within you shine for the glory of God. Thanks be to God.